Ciao and welcome back to Little Red Roaming. I'm your host Little Red and thank you so much for tuning back in. We are all done with that 4-part series I did about planning and budgeting a trip. I hope you found some of the advice relevant. I hope maybe my steps helped you plan your next trip. I found that while I was doing that series, I was just aching to be traveling again. So today I decided I'm going to talk to you guys about the things that I miss most about long-term travel. So in September I had shoulder surgery and that put me out of work for about 4 months. Tapped out all my finances, so I'm working at building that back up. But I also have a pending lawsuit related to the shoulder injury. So because of that, long-term travel is off the radar for me right now, and it's a little frustrating, and I miss it a lot. So I'm gonna get into a few of the things that I find that I miss most about long-term travel and that I am just dying to be able to do again. The first of these things is actually meeting new people every day. When you're on the road and you're staying in hostels or you're couch surfing or you're taking tours, there's this really cool thing that happens where you meet so many people and you connect with them almost immediately. You form these beautiful friendships that, you might only spend 3 days together, but you're gonna be friends with them forever, because you've just clicked and connected. And it's a very unique thing to travel that I found refreshing, because in your day-to-day life, in real life, as you might think of it, you don't really have those connections with people so quickly. You meet people through friends, you meet people at the bar, maybe you're working retail and you meet someone for 3 seconds that comes in and out of your store. We don't talk to each other in the same way in real life as you do when you're meeting somebody who's traveling. You meet somebody in a hostel and you say, wow, your accent, where are you from? And maybe you try to guess it based on other people you've met. Maybe they try to figure out where you're from, and you start talking about your home countries and your home cities and the differences in each society. And you suddenly realize that you've bonded a lot faster than you do with most people that you meet in day-to-day life. And I found this to be the case everywhere I went. And I miss that. I miss making those valid and real connections every single day. Because in real life, you're lucky if you make one of those a week. But when you're traveling, you make those multiple times a day, and it's the most beautiful thing. So I miss that a lot. Another thing that I find that I really miss is different languages, and I mean just being surrounded by them. When it comes to being in a foreign country that maybe their main language isn't English or isn't whatever language you speak, but also just being surrounded by travelers who speak so many other languages. You get to hear sounds and words that you've never heard before, and that is so cool for someone who loves words, which I do, if you can't tell by how much I like to talk. Even just looking at a map and trying to figure out what each location is based on words that you can't actually read, it's like being 5 years old again. It's like learning everything all over again, and it's so exciting and so new and so interesting to do that. Also, having people try to get you to pronounce words in their language. I had a tour guide in Iceland trying to get me to pronounce the name of that volcano that erupted several years ago, that there was a big fuss over, and no newscasters were able to pronounce it correctly outside of Iceland. Well, he tried to get me to pronounce it, and I couldn't. I could not tell you to this day how to say this word, and he thought it was hilarious, and we had such a fun back and forth of me trying to figure out how to speak Icelandic, which is a really difficult Nordic language. If you haven't checked it out yet, just, Google a couple words and see how they're pronounced, and good luck. I mean, in the area of the United States that I live, hearing different languages is so rare. English is what everybody speaks. And, you know, here and there you'll meet people who speak Spanish. I've run into people who speak Chinese, but it's so uncommon that those are like standalone incidents. Whereas when you're traveling, everywhere you go, people are speaking a different language. And it's really, really amazing just to open your ears and hear these sounds that you don't normally get a chance to hear at home. Okay, so this next point is a little bit harder for me to nail down in a single sentence or phrase. But what it kind of comes down to is the sense of not being obligated to anybody else. So when you travel, you're completely in control of your schedule. If you decide that you want to stay out till 2 a.m. walking around this beautiful city that's all lit up at night, and that's what you want to do, no one can tell you that that's not appropriate. If you want to sleep in because you stayed out all night, no one can tell you you're being lazy. Because what you do when you're traveling is no one else's business if you're traveling by yourself. You can plan out your days based on what you are interested in doing and what you value in your life. And it's this unique experience to delve into what you want to get out of every day that you live. So there were places that I didn't go to, that other people in my life look at me and they say, "What, you mean you didn't go there, you didn't stop there, you didn't spend more time there?" Like Paris. I was in Paris for less than 48 hours. I did the Arc de Triomphe, I went to the Eiffel Tower, and I went to the Louvre. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't really care about seeing more of Paris. And that's just me. I spent most of my time in Italy because that's what I wanted to do. And knowing that I get to make those choices every single day when I wake up in the morning about what I'm going to do that day and what I value about seeing when I'm in a place is very freeing. So when you're home, your time is obligated to other people. Whether that's your job, or family members, or friends, or coworkers, meeting certain social obligations. Your time is not really your own most days. And that can get frustrating. I work 6 days a week. I set aside my Wednesday mornings to film. Occasionally I get it done on Tuesday mornings, but usually Wednesday mornings are my day to film. And I try to set my time up so that this is what I'm doing and I don't have any distractions. And I've had people get annoyed with me for that because they know it's my day off. And so they think, well, it's your day off. That means you have time to come hang out with me. And I think traveling helped me to be able to say no because I value the time that I have and I value the control over deciding how to spend that time. So yeah, I guess I just miss my time and not being obligated to anybody else, and being able to plan my day around the things that I really, really value and really want to do, rather than planning it around the things that are super necessary to do. You know, like taking a hike instead of going to work is not really something I can do, even if I want to. I hope that makes sense. I also miss living lightly. And by that I mean, I traveled with a carry-on bag. I had minimal clothing with me. And I lived out of that bag quite happily for 2 months. Now that I'm back home, I have tons of books and hobbies and clothing to choose from, and I have all this stuff. And living out of a 37-liter bag made me realize that I love the concept of minimalism. However, I came home and I was very excited to see my books and, you know, get back into my knitting and my pyrography and drawing. But I do miss living so lightly and having less physical presence of stuff that was, you know, around me every day. I almost feel like that when you're living that lightly, you're putting less value on the stuff that you have with you. right? So every item I brought with me to Europe, I knew there was a good chance that I would lose it or break it. And so I made sure the things I had with me were not really super duper life or death important. The only things that were super duper important, passport, ID, my wallet in general, and my camera. But other than that, all of my clothing became disposable to me. And that's a really interesting feeling. To look at your bag of things and say, I don't really need most of this. I could go without. And to just pick things up along the way that you might need. Living that lightly is really, really cool. When I went on a road trip up to Canada, I realized that I had packed so much more for one weekend versus what I had packed for 2 months in Europe. I'm not really sure why that is, besides the fact that I had more space in the car, so I felt like it was okay for me to bring all this stuff. But yeah, it's a very different mentality, and I miss that feeling of lightness and not needing as much crap, really. When you're traveling, the cheapest way to get around is your feet. So I would walk everywhere. I would spend days just walking around cities with no destination in mind, just aimlessly wandering. And by the time I got back to my hostel at the end of the night, I would look at my activity tracker and it would say that I had walked 12, 15 miles a day. And I hadn't thought about it. I didn't feel sore. It just was part of my day. I miss having the time to do that. To just walk and be moving so much more. I love my car. I love my car, but I miss not needing it. I miss being able to walk everywhere that I want to go, or hop on a bus if walking is just not, gonna work. But I was so much more physically active when I was traveling versus when I'm at home, and it simply comes down to a matter of time. And what do I actually realistically have time for? I could walk to work every day. Like physically, I could do it. I would probably be very, very, very tired by the time I got there, and it would probably take me a couple hours to get there. But I could do it. However, do I have those couple of hours to spare every day to walk to and from work? Not really. Because I have so many other obligations in my life that are drawing my attention. So I miss having the time to be that active without really thinking about it. Because I didn't have to set aside a time of day to go take a walk. My whole day was walking. It's so different than the way that our lives tend to go on a day-to-day basis. So those are the major points and things that I'm really finding that I miss about travel. I mean, of course, there's, trying new foods and trying to figure out currency exchange and even just having foreign money. I actually have a Canadian $5 bill in my wallet at all times, just because it makes me happy to open my wallet and see it there. Yeah, there's a lot about travel that I miss. I miss the trains in Europe, just watching different landscapes and different building styles go by, and observing this different way of life and this different level of history juxtaposed with newer buildings. I could go on. I miss being on the road and doing long-term travel so much right now. So what about you? After you've done a big trip and maybe a certain amount of time has gone by and you're thinking back on it, what do you realize that you miss the most? So this is a year on since I was in, Europe, and I've taken smaller trips since then. I've gone up to Canada like 3 times. But I really miss these aspects of longer term travel. So how about you? What do you miss? Do you disagree with any of the ones that I listed, or did I hit on points that maybe you hadn't really considered or realized that you missed? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. In the meantime, please continue sharing my videos, subscribe to my channel. We are aiming to get to 50 subscribers and 1,500 views. I'm very close to hitting 1,000 views, and we're at about 28 subscribers. Thank you to each and every one of you, by the way, who has subscribed. You guys are fantastic. Once we hit those numbers, I will be offering a big contest for all of you lovely, lovely people. So thank you again. I hope you get to enjoy the rest of your day. I have some beautiful weather here, so I'm going to hopefully get outside for a bit today after I finish editing. My name is Little Red, and I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. I will see you next week. Ciao!